2, here are some large examples of my work, which just a sentence about each. This one is called Forgotten, and they're all from investigation photographs from factory farms. And this is particularly harrowing. It's the very first one that I thought I would try and paint because it's so grim. It's just greys and metal and mud and nothing. But I managed to do it, and this little piglet, who is long dead, long forgotten, is no longer forgotten, because not only is it on the wall here, it was recently chosen to be, I won't say the main image, but the cover image, the program image for an exhibition in America, which in itself is a story because a group called the Jewish Art Salon put on provocative exhibitions, and they were all taking place in New York. This exhibition, they could not find a venue at all. It took over 2 years for a place in America to even accept an animal rights art exhibition. And finally they found a place in a university in Hartford in Connecticut, and the exhibition ran for well over a month. And I didn't go, so I don't know how successful it was, but I was told it was very, very successful and very popular. And it's just a sign of the times that 2 years, over 2 years for anyone to even accept to show paintings, just paintings. That's how threatened they were. Anyway, so that little piglet is memorialised forever, and it's something I choose not to think about too much, but it is obviously very upsetting. A slightly more aggressive one is this one, which speaks for itself. It's called Now You See Me, and I think the absolute fury, which is realistic, it's directly copied from the photograph. The absolute fury of this should leave you all obviously feeling it, but a meat eater or someone that has eggs, truly feeling quite shamed. And that's all I have to say about that. This picture is called Gassed, and the only thing I've added to the pictures of chicks is obviously the title Gassed, because male chicks are either macerated or gassed because they're useless to the egg industry. And this was used, this size poster was used in Glastonbury Festival at a food stall, Food for a Future. And apparently, I didn't go to this either, but I was told that the people were drawn in because it's a lovely picture of cute little chicks. And they were all drawn in, and then they read the title, and then they read the one sentence of information, and then they were real happy about that. And it worked time and time again. So that's an example of art actually drawing people in, and then subverting what you think, and then putting that sentence into your head straight away. Because I am naive, I didn't know these subjects before I painted them. I didn't know chicks were macerated and gassed, and so many facts I didn't know. So if I didn't know it, the public won't know it. So I'm my best critic, because if I don't know it, I'm going to be painting it. It's slightly more difficult to see. This is the actual size of the paintings, all of them are this big. And this one, Meat, which is newborn babies stamped with like a maker's mark and put in the freezers at the supermarket. I photographed the meat for this in Tesco's down the road to where I live, and I was stopped 3 times from doing it by the management, who kept saying, did I need help? And I pointed out I didn't need any help. And I just pretended I was doing a student project, which is a laugh because I'm like 48, so I must have been looking brilliant that day. But it was standing in the meat aisle was just ridiculous. I said, don't you think this is odd? And they were like, no. I thought, well, I'm just going to have to do this painting then, and I took it home. So I was naive, I should have asked permission, I didn't, but I think it tells a story that I was the one that seemed to be odd while I was standing in an entire aisle full of muscle and bone and dead animals, and people were shopping all around me, and I was only taking photographs, but it's resulted in a very offensive but quite successful image. And then just to have a little bit of time off, I did a very sort of abstract conceptual image of a man tied to the back of a cow in a most uncomfortable pose, because it's called The Ties That Bind. It's because we bind ourselves to the animals, and we think that somehow we didn't do this, but we ourselves have roped ourselves to this beast, and we're holding, there's no knot here, you can see that the hands are actually holding the rope, they could let go any time and we could just break free. We've tied ourselves to it, and then all we do is complain about it and make up excuses for the fact that we're going to have to try and treat them a bit better, but we don't realise that we could just get off and walk away. And I think we all feel that. Nobody addresses the actual issue at hand, so the ridiculous image of an uncomfortable man tied upside down on the back of a cow pretty much says all that. And then two very recent images. A friend who works with animal equality sent me in the post a weaning ring, suckling preventer, which is a spiked plastic or metal device you strap to the calf's mouth, so that when it tries to suck the milk from its mum's teats, it hurts the mum and the mum will obviously shy away. I was so appalled by this, I didn't know that this existed, that I thought someone must have painted this, but I don't think anybody has. Anyway, there's room for everyone to do it if you want to, but the point is I did it, I just strapped it to the face of a newborn, and that caused a little bit of upset on social media, because nobody knew this, but they're cheap as well, they're about £1.50, and the videos are on YouTube to show you how to put them on. So that was a bleak couple of weeks painting that, quite angry about that one, obviously. There were comments about, I can't believe this is true, are you sure you're not making this up? That's a bit offensive to me, because why would I make that up? I mean, I'm not like a massive fan of kids, but I mean, really, that's a serious accusation to make. Speaking of being told, I forgot to say on that Ties That Bind one, the man strapped to the cow, I had an American man, I risked putting it onto an art site, not a vegan site, an art site, and then people was very well painted, I like that, how strange that is. And he said, oh, is this a vegan painting? Because if it is, it's a load of bull. Obviously, you know what that means. And then I found myself spammed by American meat magazines or online magazines on my Hotmail. They just kept coming at me, so obviously he felt so offended he thought he might send me meat magazines, and I didn't get his address so I couldn't send him vegan magazines, but hey ho, he's obviously got time on his hands. But at least it just that provokes somebody, and this is what we're up against really, but we know it's true. If they're fighting back, then at least their brains are working. I said they, it sounds like I meant that aliens, I just meant people who they can't quite empathise with the facts. And the final picture that I've just actually finished very recently, which is a very small one, is Cold Blood, which is just a group of fish. I decided to paint them as realistic as I could. They're very difficult to paint actually. And actually this is just for the video, because then that's actually just a little cover picture, because they've actually got harpoons going across the picture, stabbed in the back. And there's nothing more I can really say about that one, other than I find my own personal nemesis with the fish issue, because even family and friends eat fish, and they always say, I only eat a bit of fish. And they don't really know how much it hurts to hear that, because I did a lot of research about the state of the oceans, and it's a huge blind spot in people's consciousness, as if it's so far away under the water that it doesn't really matter, but the oceans will be dead 2048, I think, within my lifetime, and everyone still goes to the fish and chip shop thinking somehow it's other fish from somewhere else. But anyway, not to be too bleak about it, at least like a nice picture, a beautiful picture, at least it might raise the issue. And I make videos for all of these, so if you want to look at my YouTube channel, and there are videos of all of these with a little bit of information, but not too much. I have censored this one particularly, because I don't want to see it, and if I don't want to see it, no one will want to see it either. So you have to draw away a bit, much as you really want to slap people in the face with it, you cannot, because you will put them off. So that's really the latest image so far. There's plenty more I could do and will do, and I'm just proud that I've got the time and the space and the training and the skills to be able to do this. So that's my career so far as an artivist, not career being the wrong word really. This is my calling as an artivist, and I do hope that if you like my imagery, you will use it and share it on social media, or contact me, print it up, banners, whatever. It does actually need to be out of this gallery and walking around the cities and the streets and in people's homes all over the place. At no personal gain to me, I want it to be seen and to be effective. So that's my story so far. Thank you very much.